Trump has announced that he will impose a 100% tariff on any country.
And I mean, like, for real, and I don't mean that to sound like I don't care about Americans or America, but like we had to have seen this coming, right? That other countries eventually would get wise to the scam and realize that the U.S. has been very effectively exporting all of its inflation for decades and decades and decades. Well, really since, I mean, like, heavily in earnest since 1971. So when Nixon convinced the world that the dollar was somehow better than gold, you know, I mean, they had to realize they were going to run out of suckers to join the military and go fight for every other country's crazy ass nonsensical borders, you know, while watching our country be openly invaded. Like, you know, they have to realize this. At some point, other countries were going to be upset about this and say, okay. Now, the other side of that is that other countries have been getting a lot of foreign aid, which should never have happened. That's taking money from poor people in a rich country and giving it to rich people in a poor country. That's all that is. So, I don't know. I mean, I kind of look at this and go, I mean, who cares? If the Brics countries decide they don't want the USD, which is fine, and it puts a huge hurt on the US, it's like, you guys had to have seen this coming, right? I mean, I realize that nobody teaches this stuff, unfortunately, because they don't want people knowing this stuff. But in the last 2 to 3 years, there have been people like me and others, it's not just me, okay, there's other people that have been trying to explain this, that you cannot export inflation indefinitely. At a certain point, your other countries are going to say, hey, we don't want your dollars. Your money's no good around here. Not because, like, you know, like literally, your money's no good, and we don't want it anymore, because all it is just more exporting of inflation. I don't know how else to put that, but I know I've covered that on many occasions. I mean, if you go back, there's years of videos of me talking about this kind of stuff, and it's like, dude, at a certain point, they're going to just say no, right? So here's what happens. If the Brics countries decide, hey, we're going to create our own currency that isn't being, you know, hyperinflated to complete worthless garbage like the US dollar, the single most worthless currency that has ever existed on this entire planet. Ball or disc, doesn't matter. It's the single most worthless currency that has ever existed. It's been printed to complete insane levels. And these other countries are going to do the same thing. Now, that's all they're going to do. I mean, it's all Brics is going to do, by the way. I mean, I've covered that on many occasions. I mean, go back and look at my videos. Another Brics in the Wall and another Brics in the Wall Part 2. And you will see that I've covered this as before. Like, they're not going to... These countries will never stick to an actual standard because they can't. Governments can't. Remember, all governments are, no matter what government it is, it's your collective greed and your collective incompetence put together into the state. And that's all that it is. So no, these countries are going to, if they do something like that, and Trump puts 100% tariff on them, and it's like, okay, well, that's fine. That just means that Americans will have to make stuff here for Americans. Now, here's the fun part. All of these companies that have alienated Americans for so long, all these companies that have screwed people over, you know, workers for decades, all these companies that have, like, this is all going to come home to roost. And it's sort of like the Second Amendment issue, right? The reason why conservatives don't want to have a true Second Amendment, it's the conservatives. It isn't the liberals. You know, the liberals are kind of past that now. It's the conservatives who don't want to have pure Second Amendment. The reason being is because the court system has screwed so many people with the war on drugs, and so many men have been screwed by family courts, so-called family courts. So many people have been screwed over by the system. Squirrels and, you know, raccoons come to mind. that if there was an actual, true Second Amendment resurgence where there was no restrictions of any kind, that means no 1934, no 1968, and no 1986, no red flag laws, nothing, there would be a day of reckoning, because there'd be a lot of, and frankly, I can't say it wouldn't be deserved, and I don't use the word deserve very often in a sentence. I'm very judicious with that word, but I can't say it wouldn't exactly be deserved, because you have screwed people over for so many decades, conservatives, by not standing up for them, by just saying, oh, it's not me, whatever, who cares, let them go to jail. Yeah, so yeah, those people tend to be pretty pissed about that. So, you know, this is the same thing that's going to happen with all of your people, that now, you know, these companies have to try and go crawling back to the American consumer, the American public, and say, hey, would you buy some of our, you know, how about we make, how it can work for my company, and let's build stuff here. Yeah, now you're going to need to actually come to people who know what they're doing and who have experience, and those people are going to, I mean, many of them are going to tell you to get bent. They're going to say, no, dude, I mean, you went along with this for decades. You helped destroy the entire country for decades. You exported all the jobs, and you threw Gen X, millennials, and Zoomers all into a meat grinder of poverty and a bunch of worthless goddamn fucking degrees. You did this, and now you're going to have to come back to us. And many people, I have a pretty good memory, and many of us are going to tell you get fucked, and say, dude, you know, hey, I'll make my own stuff. You know, I'll go buy my machine, my own machine equipment, and make my own stuff, because I know how to. And like, I mean, why should I work for you after you've wholesale destroyed our economy, all in the name of trying to prop up a fake Ponzi scheme, an obvious Ponzi scheme, the 401ks, and keeping all these goddamn boomers this delusion of wealth that they all have. I mean, I remain unconvinced. You know, you're going to have to come back with a pretty good hat-in-hand explanation for why it is that Gen X, millennials, and Zoomers should bail you out. Why should we care what happens to real estate prices? You know, I mean, everybody I know is wanting real estate to collapse. Like, I mean, like totally just nothing left. You know, I mean, seriously, like $20,000 322 houses, $55,000 McMansions. I'm not joking. I mean, like, that's what we're all waiting for, because all of this is so stupid what you've done. Politicians, bankers, you know, brokers, like, all you people did this shit. So, like, and all of this is a genuine commentary on what we've seen. Maybe I'm wrong.